St. Paul says, I urge you therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God, your spiritual worship. St. Paul is he saying that you should literally go and commit human sacrifice and mutilate yourself?
That's what I've been trying to talk about. Like, so like the Aztecs, they were onto something with the ripping out of the heart. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying, nobody ever talks about that.
Just because you're Mexican doesn't mean you can start getting into all that crazy stuff.
God, oh my.
What he means is that you're supposed to make of your entire life an offering to the Father through Jesus Christ, right? And this is exemplified. This is ultimately what we're trying to do. Yeah. And the human person, is fulfilled in love. Matt, you talked about the primacy of love. All of these little gods that we're pursuing because we love them. There is some goodness in them that we perceive, and it's the impulse of love within us that is driving us towards them, but we're never going to be set totally free until the love that is within us and for which we've been created is channeled towards the highest good, which is God. And if you look at the lives of the saints, this is exactly what you see, right? It's people who, I'm thinking of Saint Therese of Lisieux, one of my favorite saints, and her little way. It's kind of talked about in like a cute way, like, oh, anyone can be holy if you just like smile and try. No, like Saint Therese was offering her body as a living sacrifice in every single thing that she did. She lived in a cloistered monastery for her whole life, never left its walls, and did simple tasks like folding laundry, knitting, living in community with her sisters. But every single thing that she did was, I would say, leisure. It was like, she had this disposition of soul by which she was offering herself back to God the Father.
And even in her death.
Yeah, and especially in her
death. She was able to, embrace Jesus Christ as she would see him get closer to her. She was open to this, even as she was suffering. Is leukemia? Tuberculosis. Right? She was suffering, and still she was offering herself up in joy. I mean, this is radical. This is not something we can make by our own will.
Offer up your body, right? We can think about what do we mean by body? And that has so many implications, especially for me as a father, right? As the head of my household.
Yeah.
Right? And so my family is part of my body, right? This is, or my art is my body of work.
Yes, wow.
Right? Everything I do is now part of some integration into where I'm oriented, right? And so these are members of our body that we have to offer up properly. You mentioned too just on the idea of the idol worship, and you mentioned previously whether you're studying theology for the sake of getting a good grade, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Those things are good, but the idea is that we should not rest in them.
Yes.
Right? And that they are supposed to be transparent so that we can see the through line to its highest ideal, right? And that's where we rest. And now we're talking about the same thing of leisure, right? So like where did we seventh day, right? Where does this action take its rest and its leisure? Not in getting a good grade, or not just to look good, or for grandeur, or for power, but it's supposed to be transparent, to continue to move, to continue to ascend, as Dante does, right? Through the different realms of hell and purgatory, et cetera, all the different loves that motivated him higher and higher. All of those things are supposed to lead back to Christ. But that's not to say those things aren't good.
Yes.
I mean, they're supposed to be transparent.
A person could go to Mass for 40 years and still be in a serious state of mortal sin. But a person can't go to prayer very long, a place of rest, let's say.
Mental prayer.
And not have a true conversion. But I think because this idea, like, even in something as sacred as Holy Mass, we can be disintegrated. Our motivations can be misaligned. That's that like famous depiction in Screwtape Letters, or that that book. Like there's the demon is kind of poking at one of the parishioners, saying, "Hey, look what she's wearing. Look what he's wearing. Why are they holding their hands that way? What are they doing that? What time is brunch after this? Oh gosh, I gotta go talk to my wife or my husband or my kids after Mass because I messed up here. I did that. I should have said that." Like there's all of a sudden all this like scattering of the person.
Yeah.
Whereas like leisure properly helps bring us together to, like you mentioned earlier, the parts are able to become one in us so that we can become one with God.
Like the importance of daily prayer. It is, in a sense, a fractal version of the week, right? It is it is your Sunday. Right?
Can I also just say I'm proud of you for waiting 43 minutes into this thing.
43 minutes before the word fractal came up.
Oh my gosh.
You're influenced by Jonathan Paget. I was thinking maybe 3 or 4 minutes. But this is
Yes, I know. So that's a record for me. Prayer, though, is where we get the pattern, right? So like our prayer, without prayer, our day becomes disintegrated.
Yes.
Right? And prayer, again, is not supposed to be this time away to do this particular thing and then you go to real life. It's supposed to inform the rest of your day, right? And so this is something I've been thinking about as well with prayer, worship, and then even my own art, is that all of it seems like it's pattern recognition, right? So prayer is the place where we recognize the pattern. Mass is the place where we recognize the pattern and then go out and implement that pattern afterwards. And pattern comes from the root pater, which is father. So true recognition of the Father, that proper worship, then gets implemented into our world.
Worship, leisure in the Holy Mass. The entire Mass is actually directed to the Father. Like
The pattern of patterns.
Exactly. The pattern of patterns.